I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
You will die.
I'll not leave you now. I've got to save you. You already have, Luke.
I'll not leave you here. I've got to save you.
You already have.
These words, exchanged between a son and his redeemed father, capture the emotional heart of Star Wars. Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. Released in 1983, this film concluded George Lucas's original trilogy with both spectacle and intimacy that would forever change blockbuster filmmaking. When Return of the Jedi arrived in theaters, Star Wars wasn't just a film series. It was a cultural phenomenon. Following the massive success of A New Hope and the shocking revelations of The Empire Strikes Back, audiences worldwide held their breath to see how the saga would conclude. Would Darth Vader truly remain Luke's father? Could Han Solo be rescued from his carbonite prison? And would the rebellion finally triumph over the Empire? With a budget of $32.5 million, substantial for its time, Return of the Jedi delivered answers through groundbreaking special effects and emotional character arcs. The film grossed over $475 million worldwide, cementing the trilogy's commercial success. Yet beyond these impressive numbers lies something more significant. What makes Return of the Jedi truly remarkable is how it balances massive space battles and exotic alien worlds with deeply personal stories of redemption, sacrifice, and family. In a Hollywood landscape increasingly dominated by spectacle over substance, Jedi demonstrated that the most memorable films speak to universal human experiences, even when set in galaxies far, far away. As we explore this landmark film, we'll examine how its technical innovations pushed the boundaries of filmmaking, how its performances completed character journeys years in the making, and how its themes continue to resonate 4 decades later. From the puppet mastery bringing Jabba the Hutt to life, to the emotionally charged lightsaber duel between father and son, Return of the Jedi represents the pinnacle of what blockbuster storytelling can achieve when imagination meets heart. This is the story of how a space fantasy conclusion became a template for how epic sagas should end, not just with explosive battles, but with moments of genuine human connection that remind us why we fell in love with these worlds in the first place. The speeder bike chase, the Sarlacc pit battle, the throne room confrontation, the epic space battle above Endor. Return of the Jedi delivers some of the most visually stunning and technically innovative sequences in the entire Star Wars saga, pushing the boundaries of what was possible in pre-digital filmmaking. Let's start with the Jabba's palace sequence that opens the film. This extended set piece introduced audiences to one of cinema's most memorable villains, Jabba the Hutt. This massive alien gangster represented a triumph of practical effects. Weighing over 2,000 pounds, the Jabba puppet required 3 puppeteers inside and 4 more operating remote controls off-screen. Each subtle facial expression required coordinated teamwork, with one person dedicated solely to controlling his expressive eyes and another managing his massive tail. The complex animatronic creation established a new standard for creature design that influenced films for decades. The speeder bike chase through the forests of Endor marked another technical milestone. To create the illusion of vehicles racing at over 120 miles per hour, Industrial Light and Magic pioneered a technique called Vista Vision. Camera operators walked through the redwood forests, with specialized cameras shooting at extremely slow speeds, less than 1 frame per second. When played back at normal speed, this created the breathtaking sense of speed while maintaining crystal clear imagery of the detailed forest environment. The sequence required precise planning, as even the smallest camera shake would be magnified in the final footage. Perhaps the most ambitious visual achievement came in the film's climactic space battle. The assault on the second Death Star featured more model spaceships than the previous 2 films combined, over 120 individually detailed ships appeared on screen, with X-Wings, TIE Fighters, Star Destroyers, and the Millennium Falcon weaving through a complex dance of movement. Each shot required multiple passes with motion control cameras to layer in different elements, with some sequences taking weeks to complete. The resulting battle remains one of the most complex and thrilling space combat sequences ever filmed. Behind these technical achievements were countless production challenges. The Endor forest sequences, filmed in California redwood groves, faced weather delays and difficult shooting conditions. The Sarlacc pit scene, shot in Arizona's Buttercup Valley, subjected the crew to 115-degree temperatures and sandstorms that damaged equipment and costumes. The Ewok costumes themselves presented challenges, with actors suffering from heat exhaustion inside the furry outfits during extended takes. What makes these achievements more remarkable is that they occurred in the pre-digital era. Unlike today's CGI-dominated blockbusters, Return of the Jedi created its visual magic through models, puppets, matte paintings, and practical effects. The film's Oscar-nominated visual effects team, led by Richard Edlin, Dennis Muren, and Phil Tippett, combined cutting-edge technology with old-school craftsmanship to create images that continue to impress even by contemporary standards. Return of the Jedi represents the culmination of character journeys that began in A New Hope, with performances that complete emotional arcs years in the making. At the center stands Mark Hamill's transformation as Luke Skywalker, no longer the impulsive farm boy or the half-trained Jedi student, but a composed and powerful Jedi Knight. Hamill's performance in the Jabba's palace rescue sequence immediately signals this evolution. Dressed in black, speaking with quiet authority, and using his force powers with controlled precision, this Luke has matured significantly. Yet Hamill brilliantly balances this newfound confidence with vulnerability, particularly during the throne room scenes where the Emperor tempts him toward the dark side. The moment when Luke finally casts aside his lightsaber and declares, "I am a Jedi, like my father before me," showcases Hamill's ability to convey both strength and compassion simultaneously. Harrison Ford brings new emotional depth to Han Solo, evolving the character beyond the self-centered smuggler of previous films. Ford carefully portrays a man uncomfortable with his new hero status, while genuinely caring for his friends. His reunion with Leia, after being freed from carbonite, balances humor and tenderness, while his offer to step aside when he misunderstands Luke and Leia's relationship shows his growth towards selflessness. Ford's reactions to the Ewoks also provide some of the film's most genuine comedic moments. The film's most memorable scenes center on the emotional father-son dynamic between Vader and Luke. Their final lightsaber duel transcends typical action sequences through James Earl Jones's voice performance and David Prowse's physical presence as Vader. When Luke severs Vader's hand and then looks at his own mechanical hand, the parallel is clear without requiring dialogue. The subsequent scene where a dying Anakin asks Luke to remove his mask so he can look on you with my own eyes creates an emotional payoff to 3 films worth of buildup. Carrie Fisher's Princess Leia completes her journey from diplomat to warrior, strangling her captor Jabba with the very chains he used to enslave her. Fisher brings fierce determination to the Endor sequences, while conveying the complex emotions of learning both her true parentage and her Force sensitivity. Her scenes with Han Solo showcase improved chemistry between Fisher and Ford, their banter feeling more like a genuine relationship than the sometimes antagonistic exchanges of earlier films. Behind these performances were fascinating casting stories. Harrison Ford initially wasn't contracted for the 3rd film, leading to Han Solo's carbon freezing in Empire as a potential write-out. Return of the Jedi almost featured a different actor as the Emperor before McDiarmid was cast just weeks before filming. And Billy D. Williams' reduced role as Lando Calrissian reflected last-minute script changes that shifted focus more fully to the core trio and the Skywalker family drama. When Return of the Jedi premiered in May 1983, critics and audiences experienced the film quite differently than we view it today. The initial critical reception was decidedly mixed, a far cry from the classic status it now enjoys. Major publications like the New York Times praised the visual effects, but criticized the film as a children's movie, lacking the depth of Empire Strikes Back. Critics particularly targeted the Ewoks, with many dismissing them as cute merchandising opportunities rather than believable rebel allies. Yet despite these reviews, audiences embraced the film enthusiastically. Return of the Jedi became the highest-grossing film of 1983, with fans lining up for repeated viewings. This disconnect between critical response and audience enthusiasm highlighted something important. Star Wars had transcended traditional critical metrics to become a cultural phenomenon with its own internal logic and passionate fan base. Over time, critical opinion has gradually aligned more closely with fan appreciation. What critics initially viewed as weaknesses, the fairy tale resolution, the emphasis on creatures and special effects, are now recognized as deliberate creative choices that completed Lucas's mythic cycle. Contemporary critics now regularly cite the throne room sequence between Luke, Vader, and the Emperor as one of cinema's most emotionally resonant confrontations. The Ewoks remain the film's most controversial element. These teddy bear-like creatures divided fans immediately, some finding them charming underdogs whose primitive technology defeating the Empire reinforced the film's themes about hard overcoming technology. Others saw them as a commercial compromise, too cute and cartoonish for the darker tone established in Empire. This debate continues even now, with the Ewoks representing a turning point where merchandising considerations began visibly influencing Star Wars creative decisions. Like its predecessors, Return of the Jedi underwent significant changes through various special editions and re-releases. The 1997 special edition added the controversial Jedi Rocks musical sequence in Jabba's palace, replacing the original puppet-based performance with CGI characters. The 2004 DVD release made perhaps the most divisive change, replacing Sebastian Shaw's appearance as Anakin's Force Ghost with Hayden Christensen from the prequel trilogy. These alterations sparked ongoing discussions about artistic ownership and whether films should be continually revised or preserved in their original form. Beyond these obvious changes lie fascinating hidden details that most viewers missed. Despite his massive cultural impact, bounty hunter Boba Fett appears on screen for just over 6 minutes across the original trilogy, with most of his limited dialogue and action in Return of the Jedi. The film contains several unresolved plot threads, including the intended revelation that Lando didn't survive the Death Star explosion until test audiences reacted poorly, prompting a last-minute edit showing his survival. One of the most significant yet overlooked scenes comes when C-3PO recounts the entire Star Wars saga to the Ewoks. This storytelling sequence directly connects to George Lucas's inspiration from Joseph Campbell's work on mythology, showing how heroic tales spread through oral tradition, with the droids serving as technological bards passing down legends. This scene essentially positions the entire Star Wars saga as a myth, being retold within its own universe. Through these changes and recontextualizations, Return of the Jedi has transformed from a somewhat disputed trilogy conclusion to an essential cultural touchstone, one whose images, music, and moments remain instantly recognizable to generations of viewers who weren't even born when it first appeared in theaters. Return of the Jedi's influence extends far beyond its immediate sequels, reshaping how Hollywood approaches franchise filmmaking even 4 decades later. The film established the template that countless trilogy conclusions have followed, balancing spectacular action set pieces with emotional character resolutions and thematic closure. From The Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, to Avengers, Endgame, major franchise. Finales consistently echo Jedi's structure, multiple interwoven climactic battles occurring simultaneously while core character arcs reach their emotional peaks. The film's technical innovations permanently changed blockbuster production. Industrial Light and Magic's breakthrough work on the space battle sequences established processes still used in modern visual effects. The seamless integration of puppetry, practical effects, and optical compositing demonstrated how different techniques could create cohesive fictional worlds, an approach that influenced filmmakers like Guillermo del Toro, who frequently cites Jabba's palace as inspiration for his own creature designs. Recent Star Wars productions have drawn directly from Return of the Jedi's visual language and narrative elements. The Mandalorian's 5th episode begins in the exact same cantina where Jabba once held court, while the Book of Boba Fett explores the power vacuum left by the crime lord's death. Luke's black-clad appearance has been referenced repeatedly, becoming shorthand for Jedi at the height of their power. Even the sequel trilogy explicitly revisits the Emperor's throne room design in The Rise of Skywalker, acknowledging the visual power of the original confrontation. Beyond these explicit references, Jedi's themes continue to resonate in contemporary storytelling. The film's central message, that compassion and love can redeem even the most corrupted individuals, remains powerful in an increasingly cynical media landscape. When Luke throws away his lightsaber rather than kill his father, he rejects the cycle of violence that defined previous generations. This moment offers a surprisingly nuanced moral lesson within a popcorn blockbuster framework, suggesting that true heroism often means refusing to fight rather than winning through superior force. The relationship between Luke and Vader established the complex father-son dynamics that would become a staple of modern blockbusters. From Christopher Nolan's exploration of father figures in his Batman trilogy to the central father-son. Conflicts in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Jedi helped normalize emotional depth in commercial entertainment targeted at mainstream audiences. What was revolutionary in 1983? Treating the emotional relationships in a space fantasy with psychological seriousness has become standard practice in contemporary franchise filmmaking. Today, in a media landscape dominated by morally ambiguous anti-heroes and subverted expectations, Return of the Jedi's earnest belief in redemption and its unabashed emotional sincerity feel almost revolutionary. The film reminds us that sometimes the most powerful stories are those that affirm fundamental human values: compassion, forgiveness, sacrifice, and hope. As Luke tells the Emperor in the film's climactic moment, "You failed, Your Highness. I am a Jedi, like my father before me." In that declaration lies the enduring power of Return of the Jedi, the belief that even in our darkest moments, we retain the capacity to choose who we truly are. 4 decades later, as new generations discover this galaxy far, far away, that message continues to resonate with the same power it held when audiences first experienced it in 1983. Which Star Wars ending resonated with you most deeply, and why? Has your perspective on Return of the Jedi changed as you've grown older? Share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more explorations of the films that shaped our cultural landscape.